Ylara had visited many young planets before, and she believed Earth would be the same as all the others. She arrived in her silver diplomatic shuttle with calm confidence, expecting to speak to a species still learning how to build proper starships and manage basic interstellar politics. The Galactic Concord had only recently contacted Earth, and the record showed that humans were late to join the great community among the stars. Because of this, Ylara assumed she already understood everything she needed to know. The city chosen for the meeting was a newly constructed orbital station called Horizon Point. It floated above Earth like a jewel of steel and glass. From the viewports, the blue planet turned slowly beneath them, covered with clouds and oceans. Humanity had built the station quickly after receiving notice of the Concord's interest, and Ylara thought the structure looked rushed. Not weak, not ugly, simply the work of a culture excited to join something larger than themselves. She had seen it before many times in other civilizations, and her expectations did not change. She walked down the station corridor with her diplomatic team behind her. There were scientists, translators, and 2 guards wearing ceremonial armor. Not real armor. Of course, symbolic. The Concord believed the humans would see them as powerful and wise. Ylara expected the first meeting to go smoothly and end with Earth asking for support, guidance, and maybe protection. Captain Marcus Hale waited in the conference room when Ylara arrived. He stood tall, dressed in a simple navy uniform. His hair was short, his expression calm, and he did not try to dazzle her with flattery or nervous politeness. Instead, he greeted her in polite, clear English. And Ylara felt he had practiced diplomatic speech many times before. That was a surprise. Most new species tried too hard to impress, but Marcus seemed relaxed, as if the meeting did not weigh heavily on him. Ylara smiled in a friendly but slightly confident manner. She had dealt with diplomats who believed their world was stronger than it truly was. She expected Marcus to speak boldly, because humans seemed like a passionate species from the reports. She was prepared to interpret his words as optimistic exaggeration. The Concord's analysts believed humanity was progressing fast but was still many decades behind in military and scientific power. Her mission was to guide them gently and prepare them for their place among the stars. Marcus offered her a seat, and the 2 delegations sat across from each other at a round table made of polished artificial wood. The room was bright and clean, with screens showing Earth's surface outside the window. Ylara admitted that, for a young species, humans had good aesthetic sense. She enjoyed the view, while Marcus opened the meeting. He began by thanking the Concord for recognizing Earth's presence. He said humanity had dreamed of this moment for generations and looked forward to growing relationships with other civilizations. His tone was formal but warm. Ylara approved. Many species shook during first contact meetings, their voices trembling with uncertainty. Marcus did not. After introductions, Ylara began to speak. She explained the role of the Concord, a peaceful alliance of advanced planets working together for security, exploration, and progress. She talked about the large network of worlds, the long history of peace agreements, and the opportunities that Earth now had before it. Marcus listened carefully, without interrupting. He seemed thoughtful, not overwhelmed. Again, Ylara was surprised, but not yet impressed. She finished by assuring humanity that it did not need to rush. "You will have time to grow," she said kindly. "The galaxy can move slowly when needed. We will assist where we can, but we understand your civilization is still early in development." Marcus slowly leaned back in his chair. His eyes moved from Ylara to the others on her team, and then back again. His expression remained calm and respectful, but when he spoke, his tone changed just enough that Ylara noticed. "Earth appreciates the Concord's offer," Marcus said, "but I believe there is a misunderstanding. Humanity is not asking for protection or guidance. We have been preparing for contact for decades." Ylara paused, unsure she heard correctly. She gave a small laugh, gentle, not rude. She assumed Marcus was making a strong opening statement. the kind all young civilizations use to prove themselves. She responded patiently. Captain Hale, I am sure humanity is developing at an impressive rate, but deep space travel, orbital platforms, and high-energy weapons require time. The Concorde's assessments show your world has accomplished much in recent years, but we also understand the limits of early galactic growth. Marcus looked at her with polite confidence. With respect, he said, your assessments may be outdated. That caught the attention of everyone in the room. Even Yalara sat straighter. How so? Human progress, Marcus said, is not driven by the same timelines your species may be used to. When humans face a challenge, we do not advance in centuries. We advance in years. Sometimes, months. Every conflict, every limitation, every moment of hardship has shaped us, and we have not been idle. Earth has prepared defensive networks, deep space monitoring systems, and technological solutions for threats we expected might come long before peaceful contact. There was a short silence. Yalara looked at him with a polite expression, but inside she was almost amused. This sounded like impressive talk, but she assumed much of it was hope and patriotic confidence. She had met diplomats who claimed similar things about their worlds, only for their technology to be weak or untested. Still, she answered with steady diplomacy, Captain, ambition is admirable, but it will take time before your world can stand on equal footing with interstellar powers. It is nothing to be ashamed of. Marcus only smiled slightly. We are not ashamed, but we are also not as unprepared as you may think. Yalara tilted her head. In that case, perhaps we should review your development projections during later sessions. Marcus nodded. We can do that. Though I should mention something first. The Concorde may not be the only power watching Earth right now. That comment changed the mood immediately. Yalara felt a shift in the air around the table. What do you mean? Calm. Wetsmen. Calm. Calm. Contention. Contention. What do you mean? There are factions in the galaxy, Marcus said calmly, that do not want new worlds rising. We believe at least one of them has already sent ships towards Sol. Their arrival may be near. Yalara stared at him, waiting for signs that he was exaggerating. Instead, she saw only steady seriousness. Her team members watched Marcus with curiosity. It was hard to believe Earth could detect incoming threats if their technology was truly behind. She wondered if humans were nervous and imagining dangers, or if Marcus had information she did not. She laughed softly again, though less confidently than before. Captain Hale, are you saying humanity is already preparing to defend itself from interstellar invasion? Marcus did not flinch. Yes, and we are ready. Yalara began to realize this meeting might not go the way she expected. And for the first time since stepping onto Horizon Point, she felt the faintest sting of doubt not in humanity, but in her assumptions. When the meeting ended, Yalara walked out of the conference room with a thoughtful expression. Her team followed, whispering quietly among themselves, trying to understand what they had just heard. She did not answer their questions immediately. Instead, she kept walking, her steps calm but her mind restless. She had expected a planet eager to join the galaxy under Concorde guidance. Instead, she found a representative who spoke as if humanity was already a strong and prepared civilization, even expecting threats from beyond their system. To Yalara, this was unusual. Young planets often exaggerated their progress, but Marcus Hale had not spoken with desperation or arrogance. His voice had been steady, confident, and disturbingly sure of his information. She wondered if he truly believed everything he said, or if he was simply trained to project such certainty. She had to consider every possibility. Her aide, a thin, pale alien named Nivril, hurried to her side. Ambassador, he said quietly, did Captain Hale sound serious to you? Yalara nodded. Very serious. And either he is impressively well-trained, One time sense, or humans are far more ambitious than our intelligence reports suggested. Nivril shook his head. Their technology cannot be that advanced already. That is what we believed, Yalara said. But we should not rely only on belief. We will observe. Inside one of the station's guest chambers, the Concord delegation began analyzing the meeting. They replayed audio, studied Marcus's voice patterns, and reviewed his statements. According to their software, Marcus had shown no signs of lying or overconfidence during his speech. This made Yalara even more uneasy. Meanwhile, on the human side of the station, Marcus Hale sat alone in the observation lounge. Through the wide windows, Earth glowed peacefully below, blue and white. He watched it quietly, not in pride, but in thought. He knew the Concord delegation did not fully believe him. He did not blame them. Humanity had moved fast, too fast for outsiders to understand with a simple report. He looked calm, but he felt the pressure of timing. He hoped they still had time. A soft door chime interrupted his thoughts. Commander Tanvi Rao stepped inside. She was one of Earth's leading defense strategists. Young, but brilliant. She stood beside him and looked out at the planet as well. They didn't believe you, she said simply. Marcus smiled without humor. Of course they didn't. Why would they? If I were in their place, I wouldn't either. Tanvi crossed her arms. Should we show them proof? Not yet, Marcus replied. Not unless we must. Humanity has been hidden for so long that revealing everything too early would cause more confusion than clarity. Tanvi sighed. You think we still have time before the hostile fleet arrives? I hope so. Back on the Concord side of the station, Yalara decided that she needed a second conversation with Marcus. She requested a private meeting. And within an hour, they sat across from each other again. This time with fewer observers. Yalara intended to test Marcus carefully, politely, but firmly. She began with small talk, but soon she leaned forward and asked the question that had been on her mind since he spoke earlier. Captain Hale, she asked, how can humanity be certain that hostile forces are approaching? The Concord has extensive detection systems throughout the region, and we have seen no sign of incoming fleets. Captain Hale, Captain Hale, Captain Hale, Captain Hale. Marcus listened without interrupting. He seemed ready for the question. When he answered, his voice remained calm. Because we built monitoring systems long before we were contacted. We detected a pattern of unknown signals near the outer edge of our system 3 months ago. Small at first, but later, more defined. Yalara blinked. Your ships reached the outer system? Marcus nodded. Not ships. Automated probes. Much smaller, but fast and numerous. Yalara exchanged a glance with her aide. Automated probes traveling that far, that quickly, would require technology more advanced than the Concord believed humans possessed. She tried not to look surprised. Marcus continued speaking. 2 months ago, we detected engine signatures, large ones. They did not match any known Concord pattern in our databases. We tried to trace them. And when we did, they changed direction toward Earth. Yalara felt a small chill inside her chest. Why did you not notify the Concord at once? We had no proof, Marcus said. Not proof that your government would accept. We also knew many civilizations are monitored from a distance before contact. It was possible your own fleet was testing us. Yalara shook her head. The Concord does not test young planets with hidden armadas. Marcus met her eyes. Then we agree. Someone else is coming. Yalara sat silently for a moment. She understood now that Marcus truly believed what he was saying. If he was mistaken, he was deeply mistaken. If he was correct, then humanity might be facing danger that the Concord had not prepared for. She spoke softly. Even if a hostile fleet were approaching, Captain, what could humanity do alone against such a threat? Marcus answered without hesitation. Survive. Adapt. Fight back. Humans learn faster when they are cornered. Those words made Ylara remember dozens of lines from the Concord's reports. Human evolution had been filled with struggle, wars, resource challenges, environmental pressure, competition, rapid technological leaps. Every decade seemed filled with intense change. While many alien civilizations developed slowly, at calm and steady pace over centuries, humans evolved like a wildfire burning through history. Ylara had once believed this was simply a side effect of youth. Now she wondered if it was something more fundamental. Still, she needed clarity. Captain Hale, please understand my position. When young civilizations overstate their readiness, they often fall first. I have seen it before. We cannot operate on assumptions. If your world is truly prepared, then why hide your progress? Why not present it openly? Marcus looked thoughtful. Because showing everything too early might invite even more danger. Humanity has enemies we know nothing about, and allies who do not yet trust us. Trying to impress the galaxy is not worth exposing our weaknesses. Ylara watched him carefully. He was confident without being arrogant. His words did not sound like the boasting of a young leader. They sounded like someone who had already spent years preparing for possibilities others could not see. She leaned back slowly. You spoke earlier of Earth's defense systems. Are you saying that, if a hostile fleet truly arrives, humanity will not call for aid? Marcus exhaled. We will ask for help if needed, but we cannot depend on it. We prefer to be ready on our own. Ylara was silent again. She understood something important in that moment. Humanity did not want to be protected. They wanted to stand among the stars as equals, not children. She stood from the table. Marcus rose as well. For a moment they looked at each other, not as diplomat and ambassador, but as two leaders facing the unknown from different sides of the same problem. Ylara spoke quietly. I will report what you have said, but I hope you are wrong. Marcus gave the smallest nod. So do I. After she left, Ylara walked alone through the quiet hallway. The lights of the station shone softly across the floor, but her thoughts were not calm. If Marcus was correct, then the galaxy might soon witness something it rarely saw: humanity facing its first true interstellar challenge before the galaxy even recognized its strength. She did not know yet whether to be worried or impressed, but she remembered one thing very clearly. Marcus had not sounded like someone overstating humanity's power. He had spoken like someone who knew the storm was already coming. In the early morning cycle of Horizon Point Station, alarms did not begin with loud noises. Instead, they began with silent flashes across the command screens. One by one, symbols turned red. At first, technicians believed the system was running a calibration test, but then messages poured in faster than the human brain could track. Unknown signatures detected at the system's edge. Multiple vessels, large energy readings, and all of them were closing in. Commander Tanvi Rao was the first senior officer to reach the command deck. She moved quickly, her dark hair tied back and her expression firm. Her eyes scanned the projections. There was no doubt. The readings matched what Marcus had feared. She gave her orders with sharp clarity. Bring planetary defense grid to active readiness. Alert all orbital units. Do not broadcast yet. We need confirmation. Meanwhile, Marcus Hale was still in a private office reviewing new reports when the message appeared on his screen. One sentence flashed in bright letters. Outer System long-range probes confirm hostile fleet. Marcus stood immediately. Without wasting a second, he headed for the central command deck. The station vibrated faintly as defense systems awakened from standby mode. As he walked, the overhead speakers came alive with calm instructions. All personnel report to assigned emergency positions. This was not a drill, and everyone on board felt it. Some looked nervous, others focused, but no one panicked. Humanity had expected this moment. They had only hoped it would come later. At the same time, on the opposite side of the station, Yalara was finishing a report for the Concorde's Central Council when her communicator vibrated with priority alerts. She frowned, tapped it, and felt her body stiffen. Hazard warnings. Unauthorized vessels detected. Not Concorde ships. Her first reaction was disbelief. Her second reaction was realization. Marcus had not been exaggerating. She rushed out of her quarters, with her guard and aide close behind. The normally calm station corridors now pulsed with red guiding lights. She heard quick footsteps and saw human officers moving with surprising coordination. No shouting. No confusion. They had practiced for this. Yalara's aide asked in a worried tone, "Should we request Concorde military support?" Yalara answered without hesitation. Yes, immediately. But even as she said the words, she wondered if the help would arrive in time. Space was vast. The Concorde fleet might be days away. The hostile forces could reach Earth long before that. When she entered the command deck, she found Marcus standing before a massive projection of the solar system. Small icons represented satellites, defense stations, and human fleets. Moving toward them were three glowing red shapes, the ships of the enemy. He looked up when he sensed her presence. "You see it. End. Life. We won." Yalara nodded slowly. "Captain Hale, I owe you an apology." Marcus shook his head. "Save that for after we survive." Yalara stepped closer to the projection. The hostile vessels were large, much larger than any human ship. Their heat signatures showed advanced propulsion systems and heavy weapon potential. She felt a chill. "How long until they arrive?" she asked. "Estimates say 9 hours," Marcus answered. "Less if they accelerate again." Yalara spoke quietly. "They knew your planet was rising. They came to crush you before you could become a threat." Marcus gave a small smile without humor. "Then, they miscalculated. Clued. Down on Earth's surface, every military base, research center, and orbital launch site came alive. Defensive missiles fueled. Laser and kinetic systems unlocked. Drone carriers opened their bays. Emergency forces prepared to mobilize. There was fear, but there was also determination. Humanity had experienced many challenges in its history, but never one like this. This time, the enemy was not another nation, not another part of the world, but something from the stars, something that did not want Earth to have a future. Back on Horizon Point, Marcus studied the latest data. Their formation is aggressive. They are not testing us. They mean to strike fast and hard. Tanvi turned from her console. They are scanning all human communication networks, trying to map our system. But they don't know about our ghost satellites. Yalara listened carefully. Ghost satellites? Marcus explained. Unregistered stealth platforms, positioned in orbits that are difficult to detect. They collect data and prepare firing solutions even before the enemy sees them. Yalara tried to imagine how a civilization this young had built such systems so quickly. Marcus understood her confusion without needing to ask. Human history was full of war, he said. Every conflict taught us that we could not wait to respond. We had to be ready before the threat arrived. When the Concorde contacted us, people didn't celebrate blindly. We knew a door to the galaxy could open both ways. Yalara folded her arms, impressed despite herself. But a detail troubled her. Even with your preparation, their fleet looks much stronger. Your ships are smaller, your defenses less massive. Marcus nodded. True, but humans compensate in another way. And what is that? We improvise. Tanvi interrupted them. Enemy fleet is accelerating again. The command deck grew quiet for a moment. 7 hours, until first contact of the most destructive kind. Marcus gave his final orders. Activate Phase 1 response. All orbital defense stations switch to combat mode. Deploy drone swarms to patrol zones. Tanvi nodded and began typing commands. Outside the station, the vast silence of space, filled with motion. Hundreds of drones, each small but armed with high-velocity kinetic rounds, shot out from hidden ports and extended wings. One of the younger officers glanced at Willara. His eyes were nervous but determined. "We trained for this. But I didn't expect it so soon." Willara gave him a calm nod. "Few civilizations do. But how you respond now will define how the galaxy remembers humanity." As hours passed, the hostile fleet drew closer. Long-range scans showed 3 massive battleships of unknown origin. Their hull designs were sharp and angular, almost predatory. Their engines burned with shifting colors, showing power sources beyond human standard understanding. Yillara watched the data. "Who are they?" Marcus answered. "We believe they are from a non-Concord power known as the Valorian Dominion. They conquer rising worlds before they become technological rivals." Yillara frowned. "We've heard rumors of them, but never had direct confrontation. Now we do." On the edge of the solar system, the first invisible conflict began. Human ghost satellites activated, spreading jamming fields and false signals. The Dominion fleet began firing probes to scan the system, but the data returned confused, unclear, forcing them to slow their approach slightly. It was only a small delay, but it proved one thing: human tactics were having an effect. Marcus observed the shift. "They are adjusting formation." Yillara saw the change. The Dominion ships spread into a triangular assault formation. That meant they were preparing their primary weapons. She felt her pulse quicken. Humanity was about to face a test no simulation could truly duplicate. Marcus spoke to Tanvi quietly. "Prepare Phase 2. Tanvi only answered, "Already underway." Yillara looked between them. She realized something profound. Humans were afraid she could see it in their eyes. But they were also ready. They were not asking for rescue. They were acting on their own. She finally saw what she had missed from the beginning. Humanity did not become strong because of their technology. They became strong because they refused to wait for someone else to save them. In the final hour before the enemy arrived, the command deck lights dimmed and the atmosphere shifted into final combat readiness. Officers strapped into stations. Marcus stood at the center, hands behind his back. Yillara took a place beside him, no longer as an observer, but as someone who understood the weight of what was coming. The hostile fleet entered long-range weapon range. A warning flashed across every screen. Incoming attack detected. The first interstellar battle in human history was about to begin. The Dominion fleet fired first. 3 beams of white-blue light shot across the silent dark of space, each large enough to melt an orbital station in a single strike. The energy readings slammed into every sensor screen in Horizon Point's command center. Officers gasped, expecting destruction, expecting fire and broken alarms. But instead of exploding, the beams struck invisible shields scattered across the perimeter of Earth's orbit. Hidden energy barriers flickered into existence for a brief second, absorbing the impact before fading again. Most alien species used visible shield systems, large glowing domes that covered ships and stations. Humans had taken a different approach. Their orbital shields activated only when needed and only where needed. Small, shielded platforms were positioned like chess pieces around the planet, forming a defense web that could respond quickly and without drawing attention until the moment of impact. The beams vanished harmlessly. For 3 seconds, there was silence. Then cheers filled the human side of the command deck. Yillara did not cheer, but she stared in amazement. Most developing civilizations struggled even to build decent warships. But Earth had produced defense systems capable of absorbing weapons from a major interstellar power. Marcus had not been boasting. He had spoken the truth. Marcus gave new orders. Return fire. Pattern. Alpha 6. Commander Tanvi Rao repeated the command, and operators tapped sequences on glowing control boards. All along the orbital grid, invisible panels unfolded, revealing concealed turrets, rail accelerators, and missile racks. Human ships emerged from behind the shadows of planetary bodies, forming elegant combat formations. They were smaller than Dominion vessels, lighter in mass, and fewer in number. But they did not hesitate. Hundreds of kinetic shells launched at breathtaking speeds. Some were simple metal slugs. Others contained timed explosives. Still others carried microelectronic disruptors meant to interfere with targeting systems. At the same time, swarms of drones closed in like silver insects. They moved so fast that even advanced Dominion sensors struggled to lock onto them. The Dominion ships responded, firing defensively. Their weapons shredded many drones, but the drones were not meant to survive. They transmitted targeting data while they attacked, mapping weak points, analyzing firing patterns, and feeding every bit of information back to the human fleet. Yalara saw all of it on the tactical display. The Dominion's first shots had been powerful, but their strategy was predictable. Their vessels advanced in a slow, confident formation, firing with force but without adaptation. Humans, on the other hand, changed tactics almost every 30 seconds. One moment they were flanking, the next they were reversing, switching targets, altering firing paths. The Dominion fleet relied on overwhelming strength. Humans relied on intelligence and creativity. The first Dominion battleship absorbed heavy fire. Railgun slugs punched into its armor, sending debris into space. The ship continued moving, but its formation faltered. Marcus nodded in satisfaction. Humans never expected to defeat the Dominion through brute strength. But if they could weaken them, confuse them, slow them, even for a short time, they could survive. Then, something unexpected happened. The Dominion changed tactics. Their ships accelerated sharply, doubling their approach speed. The command center filled with warnings. Enemy fleet closing faster. They're breaking defensive range. Shields cycling to maximum. Marcus watched the readings with narrowed eyes. The Dominion commanders were no longer underestimating Earth. They were taking the battle seriously now. That meant the real test was beginning. Suddenly, one of the Dominion vessels unleashed a volley of missiles, glowing red as they streaked toward Earth. Even with shields, a few such missiles could devastate cities. Tanvi shouted across the deck. Defense intercept active. Units line up firing solutions. From orbit and from the ground, anti-missile systems roared to life. Bright streaks, like falling stars in reverse, raced upward from Earth's surface. Ground systems met orbital platforms in flawless synchronization. Human intercept missiles collided with Dominion warheads in violent blossoms of light. One missile slipped through the defense net, burning like a spear heading toward Earth. But at the last second, a drone, launched from Horizon Point, intercepted it, destroying it in a silent flash. Yalara exhaled slowly. If humanity's defense network had been 1% slower, millions could have died. She found herself gripping the edge of the console. She turned to Marcus. You have been preparing for this for years. Marcus nodded. Since the moment we realized we were not alone, we prepared for the worst outcome. Yalara could not deny it. Many young civilizations faced their first star conflict with panic and disorganization. Humanity met it like a species that had survived thousands of years of challenge and learned from every one of them. But the battle was not one-sided. The Dominion battleships unleashed another wave of heavy fire. One railgun satellite exploded into fragments. A drone carrier took a direct hit, its engines tearing apart. For a moment, the lights of the command center flickered. Marcus gripped the table. Status on Carrier Sigma? Tanvi answered, her voice steady though strained. We've lost half of its drones, but the rest are repositioning. Ylara could tell the humans felt the loss deeply, yet none of them stopped. No officer panicked, no one froze. Instead, systems were rerouted, orders were updated, and defenses adapted instantly. Marcus stepped forward. "Bring online the Ares protocol." Tanvi hesitated. "Sir, it hasn't been fully tested. We don't have the luxury of waiting." Ylara watched as a new series of platforms activated on the tactical map. They were small, metallic spheres positioned at distant points along hidden orbits. Until now, they appeared to be harmless tracking stations. But now, they unfolded, revealing powerful weapon emitters. Ylara looked in surprise. "What are those?" "Rapid adaptability weapons," Marcus answered. "They calculate and fire based on incoming enemy energy signatures." Each sphere fired beams that looked faint, almost invisible. When they struck the Dominion ships, they caused small but direct disruptions in their shields. Tiny cracks in the armor of the enemy vessels began to appear. The Dominion ships faltered again. Their weapons wavered. Marcus watched coldly. "Good. Now hit them again." Human missiles accelerated, now aiming specifically at those weak points. Explosions rippled across the Dominion's lead ship. One of its engines flickered and then shut down completely. The ship's forward momentum slowed. It changed course slightly, drifting. That was humanity's first full victory in the battle. Cheers rose in the command center, but only briefly. Because the other two, Dominion ships, responded with terrifying force. Their energy cores flared, powering weapons far larger than anything used so far. Within seconds, dozens of targeting warnings appeared. Ylara saw Marcus's eyes narrow. The Dominion was preparing a massive synchronized strike. If it landed, shields or not, Earth would suffer. Tanvi called out, "Enemy super weapon charge, confirmed." Marcus spoke with complete seriousness. "Redirect power to primary planetary shields. Evacuate outer stations. All ships prepare emergency counterstrike." Ylara realized that humanity was not facing a normal battle. This was a fight for survival, and the next minutes might decide Earth's future. The Dominion ships fired. 3 beams, larger than anything seen so far, lit the darkness. The command deck shook as power surged across every wall of Horizon Point. The screens showed catastrophic energy levels. The beams slammed into Earth's shield network, causing massive strain. Some shielding nodes overloaded, exploding in bright bursts. Red lights flashed everywhere. Officers shouted data and updates. The noise was overwhelming. Ylara looked at Marcus. To her shock, he was calm, focused, determined. "We've trained for this," he said quietly. "Now let's show them what humans can do when pushed." The Dominion ships expected Earth to fall. Instead, humanity held. The beams dimmed. The shields flickered. But they did not fail. And on the human tactical screen, the Dominion ships began to show signs of overheating. Their super weapons had pushed their systems to the limit. Marcus pointed at the screen. "Now," Tanvi transmitted the final order. "Every human vessel, turret, and orbital platform fired at once." It was not a coordinated barrage, more like a single punch delivered from every direction. Explosions tore across the Dominion vessels. One broke apart in brilliant fragments. The second lost half of its hull and spun into a fatal spiral. The third ship survived, but its commander made the only logical choice. Ylara stared at the screen in disbelief. Humans had not only survived, they had forced the enemy to retreat. She looked at Marcus, suddenly understanding what she had failed to see at first. Humans did not win because they were strongest. They won because they refused to lose. The command deck was silent for several seconds. Then someone whispered, "We did it." Another voice shouted, and the deck erupted in cheers, relief, and exhaustion. But Marcus did not celebrate. He looked at the stars, where the last Dominion ship had disappeared. This was only the first wave, he said softly. Yalara realized he was right. A species that attacked once would likely return. The galaxy had just learned something new about Earth, and humanity had shown that it was not a world waiting to be protected. It was a world ready to stand. The battle was won, but the real war had only begun. Yalara walked into the conference chamber with a new calm in her steps. Only a day had passed since the attack, but everything felt changed. The room was the same metal and glass structure, filled with smooth, glowing surfaces and chairs formed in the shape preferred by multiple alien species. Yet the atmosphere was no longer cold or dismissive like before. The alien delegates who had once looked at the humans with disbelief and condescension now sat quietly with respect. Even a hint of tension. The humans had changed the balance of the galaxy in a few hours, and everyone in the room knew it. Marcus Hale sat in his seat, his posture straight but relaxed. He did not look proud or superior, only confident in the quiet way of someone who was finally understood. When he met Yalara's eyes, he gave a polite nod, not a smirk or a silent challenge. She appreciated that. Humanity had shown their power, but they were not intoxicated by it. They remained steady. Yalara took her place across the table. She remembered how she had first seen Marcus as almost amusing, a young representative of a young species making bold claims. In her long diplomatic career, she had heard many civilizations brag before falling in the first wave of real danger. Yet Marcus had not been bragging. He had been explaining what humanity already was. She now saw how quickly she and others had judged Earth based on its age, not on its character. The new understanding made her words gentler. The meeting began. The other Concord delegates watched closely, letting Yalara speak first. She was the senior diplomat. And now, she was also the one who had stood in the center when the truth revealed itself. Her voice was calm but carried weight when she spoke. She thanked humanity for their protection and bravery during the sudden attack. She spoke truthfully about the shock she had felt witnessing Earth's defense systems adapting in real time, designing countermeasures faster than most of the galaxy could. Some systems had been beyond what even the Concord had achieved. The humans at the table listened quietly. Marcus responded in simple words. He said that humanity had known contact with the greater galaxy would bring interest, alliances, and threats. Humanity had long learned that growth never came without risk. History had taught them that survival belonged not to the biggest empire but to the civilization that learned and adapted the fastest. Earth had no intention of conquering anyone, but Earth would never allow itself to be anyone's pawn or target. The delegates took notes, but many also simply listened and absorbed the meaning. Yalara looked around and saw faces she had known for decades, and most had been humbled. This realization felt necessary. For too long, the Concord had seen size and age as strength. Humanity was a reminder that strength could also come from struggle, creativity, and determination. One delegate from a water-based species asked how Earth had developed such systems without outside knowledge. Marcus answered with a small, thoughtful smile. Humanity had faced pressure throughout their history: conflict, competition, disasters, and a constant need to push forward. They had become skilled at solving problems not when conditions were ideal, but when conditions were dangerous. Human technology did not rely on perfect planning. It relied on invention, in motion. Yalara listened, and she could see why humanity advanced so fast. They did not freeze in chaos. They moved through it, learning at every step. The next part of the meeting was not negotiation but cooperation. Yalara proposed a new treaty, something the Concord rarely offered to young civilizations. It was not the usual limited alliance or supervised membership. It was equal partnership, a seat at the table, a recognition that humanity was ready, not someday, not eventually, but now. Marcus was respectful but realistic. He said humanity would join as a partner, but would not allow limitations that placed Earth beneath other members. The Concord delegates exchanged glances but did not disagree. The memory of the repelled fleet was still fresh in their minds. Yalara assured Marcus that no such condition would be demanded. Humanity had earned its place. The treaty was drafted with care. Trade, cultural exchange, joint military intelligence, and shared peacekeeping agreements were included. Humanity would gain access to the knowledge of hundreds of worlds, and in return, the Concord would gain something they had lacked for a long time: new perspective and new momentum. When the final terms were read aloud, the delegates formally approved them through the traditional gesture of agreement. Yalara felt something in her chest shift, a mix of pride and relief. She had witnessed a turning point in galactic history. Earth would no longer be an unknown world. It would be a catalyst. The meeting ended, and delegates began leaving in small groups. Yalara remained for a moment, gathering her thoughts. Marcus approached her as the room emptied. There was no celebration in his expression, only mutual understanding. She told him that she had misjudged humanity at first. He replied kindly that almost every species had done so when first meeting humans. It was a pattern they had become used to. Yalara appreciated the honesty. She then admitted something she had not told anyone else. When the attack happened, she had felt fear not because she thought humanity would fail, but because she had realized how unprepared the galaxy was for the arrival of a species like Earth. Humans changed situations simply by entering them. Marcus did not deny it. He said humans had always been this way. History shaped them into a species that refused to sit still and wait for fate. Later that evening, Yalara returned to her quarters and activated her official log recorder. She documented the day, the negotiations, the treaty, and her honest observations. Her report was detailed but calm. She spoke about humanity's unusual evolution, their adaptive warfare, their psychological resilience, and their potential. But the final section carried the sentence she would be remembered for. She wrote that Earth was not only ready for galactic interaction, they were going to transform it. Humanity was not the next member of the Concord. They were the beginning of a new chapter in its history. She paused, read the sentence again, and signed her name. The report was transmitted. On the other side of the chamber, the lights of Earth glowed through the viewing window. A small blue planet in a vast universe, but now no longer underestimated. Humanity's story in the galaxy had only just begun, and every species watching now understood that they would need to adapt, evolve, and learn because humans were here. And nothing would ever be the same again.